Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your guy Rudy SKC, and welcome to a brand new video. Guys, I don't know what's going on right now in the state of Michigan. I just don't know. It's like everything is going right for us, okay? Lions are buzzing. The Red Wings are turning it around. The Pistons are turning around. We're going to talk about that today. Michigan basketball is playing at an all-time well. Even for the Spartan fans, MSU basketball is playing well. And then, guys, we're looking at national television right now. Matthew Stafford is absolutely dotting up the Minnesota Vikings. Sucks to suck, Vikings fans. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me. But, I mean, it's going crazy. And, someone just tweeted this out, and I thought it was funny. Last time the Vikings scored a touchdown, and, by the time I'm recording, as the time I'm recording this, the score is 24-3 Rams. The last time the Vikings scored a touchdown, the Pistons and Red Wings fans had no hope. I thought that was so hilarious that someone tweeted that out because, I mean, it's true, right? They didn't score this week. They didn't score a touchdown last week against the Lions, and that's kind of been the timeline of the turnover. For both the Pistons getting on this hot streak, and same thing for the Red Wings. Okay, but anyways, we gotta focus on today's video, and boy, do we have an exciting one to talk about. The Pistons at MSG. Not monosodium glutamate, Madison Square Garden, the mecca of NBA basketball, go out and beat the New York Knicks 124-119. No, this is not the New York Knicks team at the end of Carmelo Anthony's career, where they were consistently at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. No. This is a Knicks team with Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, both all-star players who are leading this team to the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference currently. That's the Knicks that your Pistons went on and played. And yes, they beat the Knicks earlier in the year, but this game was where the Knicks are actually trying. See, when you become a good team, like the Pistons are putting themselves on the map as, when you're becoming a good team, other teams start to come out and try hard against you. They're not resting their starters against you. And that's what you saw with the Knicks today. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a playoff caliber basketball game. It was a playoff caliber basketball game from the first whistle. You saw the intensity that New York was playing with. And you know what? For all that we talk about, we're saying the Knicks are a playoff team. You, Detroit, you came out and you started the intensity. You set the tone in that first quarter. You set the tone with all the rebounding. And one guy I really want to credit here in the first quarter, Tobias Harris, out of all people. He was playing his butt off on the defensive side of the ball, and the way he was contesting for rebounds, it's not going to show it on the stat sheet. This is something that you have to go into the game and watch. But Tobias Harris, one of the best defensive performances of the season, in my opinion, for him. The way he was going up for all these contests with the ball, the way he was boxing out, it was a beautiful thing to watch. It was a beautiful thing to watch. So to me, that first quarter, the hustle they showed, the steals, Ron Holland, the energy. You could see the Pistons' energy in the way they were walking, the way they were talking, the way Stu, when he got in the game, he blocks Karl Anthony Towns and he does the Dikembe Mutombo no to the crowd. Patrick Ewing's in attendance. He's doing it in front of all these guys. So to me, the Pistons in that first quarter, the intensity they were showing, they were just having fun on the court, man. And it's so refreshing to watch this after seeing years and years of losing. It's so refreshing to see this. To see your players having so much fun on the basketball court and they're winning at the same time. So that was something. But let's really talk about the game flow, right? So going back to this game, by the way, before I really get into that, I just want to reiterate the point to you guys who haven't comprehended this yet, but this game is exactly how a playoff game goes in April. It's exactly how a playoff game goes in April. That intensity, even I'll give them credit this game, for the most part, until maybe the last 6 to 7 minutes in the game, the referees did a great job refereeing, in my opinion. Yes, they had a couple missed calls that the challenges had to correct, but in terms of in terms of the game flow, making it an enjoyable product, in my opinion, the referees did a great job for the most part. And you can tell, right? Scott Foster, he's an NBA playoff referee. He's a veteran. He's a veteran. He has years of experience. So shout out to him for that. But this is how a playoff game goes, guys. This is the intensity that you play in. And to me, for the Pistons, this is a test to see how can they handle the pressure of playing a playoff intensity game against one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference in that magnitude, in that atmosphere, in that basketball arena. And they passed with flying colors. So yeah, going back to the game flow, there's things we got to talk about. So I mentioned how you came out in the first quarter with that level of intensity. Then the second quarter hits. And you know what happens? Cade misses some shots. The Pistons, they were aggressive in the first quarter getting to the rim on the offensive side of the ball. They were making the extra pass. They were out hustling the Knicks. And the Knicks, they weren't matching the intensity, but it wasn't like the Pistons were out executing the Knicks on the offensive end of the ball. They were forcing turnovers, and they were executing in transition. And they were getting their hustle points that way. And that's why they jumped out to a 10-point lead in the first quarter. Now, the second quarter comes around. This is the sign of a good team. You know you're playing a good team in the New York Knicks. The Knicks come out, and what do? They start off with a 10-0 run of their own. You see Brunson starting to take the game over a little bit. Karl Anthony Towns had his three-pointer starting to fall. Hopefully his finger's good, by the way. Prayers up to Cat. Hopefully it's nothing serious because, hand injuries in the NBA, I think, Special K, Gregory Kalser always mentions it on the broadcast, but they can be lingering over some period of time, so hopefully he's okay. But the Knicks came out and they matched the Pistons' energy. And yeah, Cade misses some shots. He gets a little too aggressive with the ball. He picks up 4 fouls, and all of a sudden, the Knicks have all the momentum back. Now, a Pistons team of the past, even a Pistons team from earlier in the year, what would they do? What would you expect them to do, right? This is a top team in the East. They would go out and you'd expect them to just lie flat on their bellies and, just take whatever the Knicks give them the rest of the game. But that's not what they did. One thing I want to mention right there is Cade getting in foul trouble really highlighted to me what can happen in a playoff situation when you do not have a primary ball handler out there on the court. And obviously, Cade, he was playing a little tentative in the second quarter. His shot wasn't falling. Even his looks at the rim wasn't falling. It looked like he was trying a little bit too hard, And to me, when that happened, you saw what happened with the Knicks. You saw they were able to take over the game. So I think it's still a concern for the Pistons what happens when Cade comes out of the game if he needs to for decent stretches. I think the Pistons can handle a 2-3 minute stretch. But in a playoff type environment, which is exactly, let's face it, it's what MSG was today. Cade Cunningham's absence on the Pistons was huge. So, in my opinion, either the Pistons need to go out and trade for another primary ball handler towards, whatever the trade deadline is, or they need to hope that Jaden Ivey can come back before the playoffs. And I honestly, I don't think this is something where the Pistons say, hey, we're on this run, let's mortgage the future and go with the title here, like a lot of fans are saying. I don't think that's the discourse we should be having. The focus is still on development. But you want to see how far this Cade Cunningham train can go, man. And the fact that you have Jaden Ivey, that's another guy that, in my opinion, that's an all-star backcourt. That's who we think Jaden Ivey can develop into in the future as a complement to Cade. And we were seeing it start to work until Ivey got injured. If you get in the playoffs, in my opinion, you need another primary ball handler. And you're not trying to go out and get one like, try to get a Jordan Poole where, you go ahead and, obviously the Wizards are rebuilding. But if you wanted to get Jordan Poole, you let's be honest, you would have to mortgage the future a bit. You have to either give up Ron Hall and you either have to give up Asar Thompson. And that's something that the Pistons get, or maybe even Jaden Ivey. That's something the Pistons should not do, in my opinion. So, to me, that's the main focus of the trade deadline. You ideally, you would want to get another primary ball handler who can take, pressure off the team when they get on the bench. Even like, on the Pistons, we know Ish Smith from a couple years ago. I would take Ish Smith to be able to run this offense. It just needs to run smooth. Sasser, we saw him, and I'll get to him today because I was very impressed in some spurts from Sasser. I don't think he's a one yet. I don't think he's your primary ball handler. And it can't be Malik Beasley. And in the playoffs, Asar Thompson, he can't be that guy for long stretches of time. So that's something, I know it kind of dampened the mood right there, but something to highlight in the second quarter I saw. Now, let's get to the third quarter, guys. Because in the third quarter, you saw something. So I tweeted this out before the game. Okay, I tweeted this out like early morning today. Because I saw the Pistons were playing the Knicks on the schedule. And here's this tweet, okay? Pistons have a chance to make a statement today at MSG against a top team in the East for one, but it's also where all the greats have marked their official ascent to stardom. Interesting to see how Cade will do. Cade Cunningham, first half, 7 points, 4 fouls. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe a little too soon for that tweet. Third quarter comes around. My God, did he take over that quarter. He had 18 points in the quarter, and he was just unstoppable. There was nothing the defense could do to him. He was getting in the paint at his will. And I think this is why I think actually Cade is one of the most fun players in the entire NBA to watch. Just look at the bag work, man. Once he's operating if he gets the ball off the pick and roll, the way he's able to manipulate the defense, he's operating with the ball, the spins, the shakes, the shimmies, the pump fakes. I mean, he has it all. The way he's able to operate in the post, the way he's able to maneuver his body in the paint. And yeah, I know he still needs to work on his finishing at the rack, but it's all of these things together. And then the pull-up three, the three started falling in the third quarter a little bit. And you really saw what happens when you can have a superstar level player on your team. That's what you pay money for as a fan to go and watch live. And Cade Cunningham, this is not just a one night thing. For a superstar, you expect games like this. You expect them to have really good games most of the time. And then once in a while, you expect them to take over a game and just finish it off. And you're seeing from Cade Cunningham the ability to do this in back to back games. How he is 7th in the All-Star voting for fans is beyond me. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy to modern basketball. The fact that someone with Cade's playing style, where his entire playing style is not oriented at just hunting threes. It's not oriented at getting fouls and, doing whatever Shea or Jalen Brunson do. His game is absolutely aesthetically pleasing to watch. No, he's not John Morant. He's not flying over people for dunks. But it's about the second best thing. It's about the second best thing. And for everyone complaining about how the modern NBA is, I encourage you, turn on a Pistons game, any game from this season, and see how this guy is operating. Because the level he's operating right now, it's not only something the Pistons haven't seen in a long, long time. It's something that the NBA hasn't seen, in my opinion, in a long, long time. The ability for someone to manipulate defenses the way that they do. Luka Doncic is someone who's able to do this night in and night out. But Luka and Cade are slightly different players. And I think, in my opinion, where Luka has his advantages over Cade. And I think he's a better dribbler of the basketball. He's a better finisher. But Cade's ability to maneuver himself inside between the 3-point line and the painted area is something that no one has seen. Especially with Cade's level of athleticism. He's not operating with some crazy level of athleticism, guys. This isn't LeBron coming out of high school where he's just an athletic freak dominating everything. This isn't Jordan coming out of UNC where he's an athletic freak dominating. It's something a little bit new. And sometimes something a little bit new can be super refreshing for fans. So yes, Luka Doncic is the comparison, but Cade's game is different from Luka. Don't let the fact that both of them being heliocentric guards that you cannot speed up or slow them down. You can't change their pace in the game. Don't let that being a common factor fool you into thinking Cade and Luka play exactly the same style of basketball. Because there's nuances to it. And you're seeing what Cade Cunningham is doing. And you're seeing, as I mentioned in my tweet, it's where the greats mark their official ascent to stardom. And in my opinion, in the mecca of basketball, that's what Cade Cunningham did tonight in the second half. He finished with 29 points in the second half. I think Kelser and Blaha mentioned it on the broadcast, but only 2 other people in NBA history have scored that many points with 4 fouls. To me, that's something as a Pistons fan that I've just never seen. And that's something that he's only 23 years old. We're going to see this for the next, 10 to 15 years throughout his prime. And as a Pistons fan, as a Detroit sports fan, man, there's nothing better than to go to bed at night and just tell yourself that you have this guy locked up and he wants to be here. He's not someone who's going to demand a trade when things are rough, because things were rough last year. They were insanely rough. You're the worst team almost in NBA history. And he stuck with you then. And he's with us now. So, Cade Cunningham, man, just unbelievable performance there. Asar Thompson also in the second half, his defense, there were points where he was taking over games. In that fourth quarter, there's a sequence where Cade Cunningham, he drives in, and because of his gravity, you see the defender helping off of Asar. And Cade shoots it to Asar for a corner three. And, for some reason, Asar doesn't get a good shot up. It hits off the side of the rim. A little bit of a bad miss. And then the Knicks are in semi-transition. And at this point, it's a close game, guys. It's a 2-point game. It's anyone's game. And this is, in my opinion, where the Pistons kind of swung the momentum back into their favor. Because Asar, Jalen Brunson has the ball. Asar, he was in the corner three spot. The Knicks in semi-transition. Brunson is trying to pass the ball to Cat. And you see Asar flying past him, and that makes Brunson delay, and he shoots the pass a little bit high. And Asar, who's completely out of position, he reaches his long, inhumanely alien-like arms out there, somehow deflects the ball, gets it off Cat, and it's Pistons ball. Plays like that highlight to you the value of Asar Thompson on this team, because that's a play that swung the momentum of this game, in my opinion, onto the Pistons' favor. So that was just joyous to watch and see Asar Thompson play like that. And you know that he has that potential, man. And if he can just work and get a respectable jump shot eventually in this league, teams better look out. If that offensive game develops, Asar Thompson, man, he's going to be one of the best two-way players in this league. His potential is higher, in my opinion, than anyone on the Pistons right now. So, league better look out, man, because this team is coming. I do want to also mention in the fourth quarter, when Cade sat down, and I mentioned this earlier in the video, two players to me stepped up and kept the Pistons afloat when Cade was taking his 2-minute rest in the fourth quarter. And that was Marcus Sasser, and Ron Holland. Ron Holland's ability to drive to the rim, you talk about him being a similar player with Asar. I think he's better than Asar in this regard in his ability to drive to the rim and finish at the rim at the moment. He was able to do that a couple times, and the Pistons got easy baskets to keep them afloat when you had Brunson taking over the game in the early parts of the fourth quarter. And then Marcus Sasser, he's coming down and he's hitting floaters, he's hitting three-pointers. I know he had a turnover towards the end of the stretch, but that was keeping the Pistons in the game. It was keeping the Pistons when Cade gets out of the game. It's a race to see if the other guys can prevent the team from sinking underwater. And at that moment, the Pistons, this was the water level right there. They were bobbing. And these guys kept doggy paddling and kept the Pistons afloat. So, to me, absolutely huge minutes from those guys. And then, at the end of the fourth quarter, who finished out the game? It actually wasn't Cade. Yes, he closed out the game in terms of, everything, his impact, his gravity. Cade, he draws double teams on the last two possessions of the game because the Knicks are like, guys, this guy is unstoppable. There's nothing we can do. They send a double to him. What does Cade do? This is where being 6'6" it benefits him so much, man. This is where being 6'6" benefits him so much. He swings it over to THJ, who makes the unselfish pass to Beasley in the corner. And Beasley sinks both of them. And what a clutch revelation Beasley has been for us this season. You've seen it time and time and again. It doesn't matter if Beasley is 0 for 20. When it's clutch time, he's taking shots, man, and he's making them. So, and the best thing is there was just a game last game against the Warriors where he had a chance to tie the game. And, it wasn't last game, 2 games before. He had a chance to tie the game, and he bricked it. And now he comes back in clutch time and he makes 2 absolutely huge shots to just shoot the nail into the coffin of the Knicks. So Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway making unselfish passes. Tobias Harris, he played putrid on offense today. But the effort he's showing, the voice in the locker room that he's having for this young Pistons team, it just goes to show, man, how great Trajan Langdon's offseason acquisitions are doing. I know we talk about this every video, but the difference between last year's veterans and this year's veterans, mind-blowing. Evan Fournier and Bogdanovich are not Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley. Not even close. So great minutes from those guys. Another guy that I really want to highlight before I get into my 3 main takeaways from today, Isaiah Stewart, man. Jalen Duren, today was a game where I tweeted this out as well. I wanted to see how Duren did against Cat. And I thought Duren was really good on the offensive glass, but on defense, he was getting into some foul trouble. And I think because of that, we weren't really able to get a great evaluation. I think the effort he showed on Cat early on was really good. And Cat's going to make shots, man. He's a tough player. He's an all-star. He's a star in this league. But I like the effort Duren was showing on. Unfortunately, he got into foul trouble. And again, this is part of his development. He's going to continue to grow. But what happens when Duren's out the game? You release the heart of the Pistons onto the floor. And I don't know what was in Isaiah Stewart tonight, man. But the effort he put on the defensive side of the ball and the effort he was showing hustling on the offensive side of the ball, forget the numbers. It's not going to show it in the numbers there. It's not. It's really not. It had a measurable impact on the success of the Pistons. That's why they were able to be so successful and keep their foot on the gas pedal in that first quarter after Duren comes out of the game. Stu, he was the first sub in. He didn't lower the intensity. No, he raised the intensity of the game. So to me, Isaiah Stewart, he's such a valuable unsung hero to this team. He's one of the best backup defensive bigs in the NBA, according to any kind of metrics. I'm pretty sure he's second among backup centers in the NBA in blocks. So the metrics show this too. But I'm just talking about the impact on the Pistons' momentum. Because any time in a game on the defensive side of the ball, it's tough. It's a very tough challenge to come out and challenge Isaiah Stewart. It's tough, man. And if you can do it, kudos to you. You saw a couple games ago, Draymond Green kind of getting into the head of Beef Stew. But other than that, man, it's super hard for anyone to match that intensity. So just be glad as Pistons fans that you have a guy who is really the heart and soul of the team. He embodies everything this team, this culture that JB Bickerstaff is building for this team. He embodies it all. So Beef Stew, man, he's such a valuable part. I really hope in any kind of acquisition, whether it's some kind of trade at the deadline, that Stu isn't one of the pieces that we give up. I know that's been one of the biggest talking points because, Fontecchio, I'm good to get him off the team. Like I'll be dead honest. But Stewart, it's gonna hurt my heart if they end up trading Beef Stew. It really is. So we'll see what the Pistons do. Okay, so let's get into my 3 takeaways. The first thing, like we talked about in the video, Cade is a superstar. He's arrived. Guys, go and vote for the All-Star game. Get your votes in. I honestly think Cade is playing at the level of an All-Star starter. It's not, All-Star isn't even a discussion. It's All-Star starter. You look at all the coaches around in the league. Everyone has massive respect for Cade. Steve Kerr made him the focal point of the U.S. team. They practiced against Cade as a focal point last summer. Steve Kerr knows the type of player Cade Cunningham is. You saw the respect Tom Thibodeau had for him. Every coach that the Pistons play against, they always, and even every player, they're always talking about how hard Cade Cunningham is to defend, man. He is such a superstar, and he's arrived. And it's a great thing for the city. It's a great thing for a city when you have all the sports teams on arriving and reviving. And the Pistons, the Red Wings, 2 of the more historic franchises. And you're seeing it. And you're seeing it. The vibes in the city right now are immaculate. And part of that is Cade, man. We have to give him more respect inside the city too. I mean, if you look at all the 4 teams, I know that there's superstars everywhere. But the impact that Cade is having on this team right now, no other player on any other sports team in Detroit is having the kind of impact that Cade Cunningham is having on the Pistons right now. And I think that's something that needs to be said, right? So that's my first takeaway from this game. Second takeaway is that JB Bickerstaff is a fantastic coach. And I know we've talked about this before, but the first quarter proved it, right? The way you come out with a defensive intensity matters. And when you have guys that are on the second night of a back-to-back like the Knicks were, it really matters how you come out and approach the game. And the mentality that JB has instilled in his team, the amount of turnovers they're able to generate on defense, and the fact that players are willing to make extra passes, to me, that's coaching, guys. That's building a culture for this team. And they're building a culture on what? Defense. And you wouldn't have it any other way for a city like Detroit. So JB Bickerstaff, he's done such a fantastic job with this team so far. And, I'm interested. I'll be honest. We've heard the other fan bases say, yeah, but when it gets, JB is a regular season coach. He's a development coach. When it comes to the playoffs, JB Bickerstaff isn't all that. I'm interested to see it, guys, because everything I see, from building a culture to even designing plays, I think JB Bickerstaff is a mastermind. The play that he designed against the Warriors a couple games ago to get Malik Beasley an open three, you thought it was going to be Fontecchio because he was the guy coming around the screen. For him to set up a secondary option to that, it's brilliant. I think JB Bickerstaff is a brilliant coach, so I'm really, really interested to see what all the Cavs fans and the other team, the fans of teams that JB has been on before, what they have to say about this, because I really cannot see how JB cannot be a great coach in the playoffs when he's coaching like this in a playoff caliber game against the Knicks. So JB Bickerstaff, just, keep doing your thing, bro. My final takeaway is that the Pistons are going to be extremely difficult to beat in the playoffs for any team, whether it's a play-in game or a 7-game series. And the reason I say that is this. I wanted to see how the Pistons can respond in this kind of environment. This is an away game, mind you. And Madison Square Garden was erupting. You could hear the fans through the broadcast. And the Pistons rose up and they were with the Knicks the entire game. And yeah, Cade taking the game over pushed them over the edge. But the ability to be able to keep up with any team in the NBA, to me, is something that makes you extremely hard to beat in a one-time elimination game. In a 7-game series, this team is going to make you earn every single game. So the other teams in the NBA better watch out, because you can't let your guard up against this team. And you can't tell me that this team is too stupid to lose, because they've been through losing. They've done a lot of losing. The young guys on this team, the guys who've been here from, the original rebuild days, they've done a ton of losing. So you can't tell me they don't know how it feels like to lose. And man, when you just get a sliver of a taste of how winning feels in competitive settings like the Pistons do, you don't let it go. So, Detroit Pistons, they're continuing to show that upward trajectory. Don't expect it to be completely linear and exponential from here. There are going to be bumps along the way. They're going to lose games. We're going to talk about things that they have to do better in those games. But this is the direction the Pistons are going in. And as a Detroit sports fan, we can do nothing but feel happy that it's finally coming together. So, great job by the Pistons on their game against the Knicks tonight. Truly an unbelievable game from a viewership product. And I will see you guys the next time the Pistons have a game, which I believe is on Thursday or Friday. But I will also have a video tomorrow talking about the Lions and Commanders as a preview game for Saturday. So expect that. Wait for it to happen. But until then, guys, I'll see you later. Peace.